Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Strength Students podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Steve Carty.
I'm the other guy, Nick Scopoletti.
And we're two dudes bringing you the latest in strength and conditioning from Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah, the heartbeat.
The H-beat. That's usually where we do these things. Unless we're off, like, interviewing models, male models.
In Italy.
This episode, we got a good one. We're interviewing David Ruhl, former powerlifting champion. So we'll be talking to him today.
Sky rules.
Yeah. That's actually a good one.
Right? Right? Yeah, fuck you.
Before we start anything, though, we'll start with our announcements. Don't forget, we are one of the sponsors, a co-sponsor, if you will, of I Was Hellbound at Hellbent Barbell. The powerlifting meet that Hellbent Barbell will be putting on Sunday, September 10th. It'll be at Hellbent Barbell in Stratford, Connecticut. Not Stamford, Connecticut, or White Plains, Connecticut. Both very popular Connecticut towns.
Mine is
but
White
it will
Plains.
be at neither of those. It'll be in Stratford, Connecticut. I will be giving away a dope-ass bag with our logo on it. And it has, what in it? Chalk. We got some chalk in there.
We got some lifting chalk.
Mm-hmm.
We got lifting chalk.
We have gangster wraps in there.
Gangster wraps.
For the slingshot.
The bag itself is embroidered with our logo. It's a dope Under Armour bag that I almost kept for myself. And ammonia caps.
Oh, yeah,
Break
ammonia
those
caps.
open, sniff that shit, lift some shit.
Lit. Very cool. And that's it, right? In
That's
that bag?
it, man.
All right,
and then
cool.
we'll probably give you a hand job after if you win.
So if you're a powerlifter in Connecticut or in the region and you want to check it out, I think it's a push-pull meet.
Push-pull meet.
Push-pull meet. So no squatting.
Yeah.
I was like, but squatting's like technically a push. So no squatting. So come check it out.
Bench and deadlift.
If you want to come see us, we'll be there.
We'll be there.
We'll be there. Or if you want to compete, definitely sign up. Should be good. Steve is a good dude. And that should be fun. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Strength Students Podcast. Go like our Facebook page. Same thing at Strength Students Podcast. And then go follow us on Instagram. Or you could follow us in real life to our cars. Whatever you want.
As long as you bring gifts, we don't care.
If you haven't already, hit up iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. Also Stitcher. Give us a 5-star review or 5-fish review. I don't know what they do on there. We got some good guests coming up in the future here. We booked Dr. Andy Galpin, who just came out with a new book called Unplugged, which you got and I'm getting, and I'm going to read it a little bit.
Him and Brian McKenzie. He was just on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Which is like a
Heard
pretty
of
popular podcast. It's whatever.
We're going to have Brian Carroll on again. Dude's just
in
chops,
person.
Man. In person. We're going down to Jacksonville, Florida. And hopefully while we are down there, we will be we'll definitely get Coach Kate on again. If you guys remember Coach Kate, she was about episode 20-something, 3 or 4, something like that. But hopefully we'll make a trip to Miami, get her on the show again, and some other friends as well. Definitely go to YouTube. Go check out, we just put up a dope YouTube video real quick, 1 minute, of a banded mobility warm-up. So a quick, easy joint-by-joint approach banded mobility warm-up you can do to prime up your mobility before you start training in any fashion. So, go check that out. You got some news. You just did some shit, some real shit on some real levels, literally.
Yeah, real life. So I got, we've talked in the past here about supplements and what you should be taking, what you shouldn't be taking. Is fish oil bad? Is fish oil good? Are you stupid? Are you overweight?
Yeah.
Do your parents hate you?
Tale as old as time.
Yeah. So, I went and got, hopefully a future guest, Allie Gilbert, Metabolic Golf. is partner. She's a trainer, but she's a partner in a hormone lab, or they test everything, but just a sports performance lab in Greenwich, Connecticut. I been wanting to do this for probably 2 years now. So I took advantage of it, got my blood work done, my hormones, and I got my results back. And good news is I'm a woman, so
good.
No need to pay
Just
for
like
the
we all
surgery,
thought.
right? No, so we've been very open, and I know I've been open about this too on the show, and I will continue to be open about this. Steroids, I took them fairly young. I took a lot of stuff from ages 15 to 19. I don't have to go into all of it, but it was a good amount for a 15 to 19-year-old. So, I always knew, I saw actually one of the things that really pushed me was I saw Allie post something and say, even if you took something, anabolics 10, 20 years ago, you should still get tested. Probably should check that out. Right? And I was like, yeah, she's right. I've been putting that off for a while. And it's just a combination of feeling like shit all the time and being exhausted. I just wanted to check it out. So I got my levels tested, and testosterone itself, overall levels are, for those of you that know blood work, it's around like in the 4s somewhere, 400. 800 is like optimal, like super optimal.
Right.
It's like when you were 18, you just had like rock hard boners all the time. So I'm like halfway there. But the biggest thing is that's your bound testosterone. My free testosterone that your body can actually use is, and the words of the doctor was, it's on the floor.
Shot.
So he was like, and then I explained to him what I took and the ages I took it at, and he goes, I could have told you that without even you telling me that. He goes, your blood work. That, very inflamed. Omega-3s are like non-existent. Omega-6s are super high. So, and one thing, I gave them everything I did. I'm very open. I gave them everything that I do, supplement-wise, sleep-wise, trainer, everything. And one of the biggest changes they made was switching me from cod liver oil to fish oil. Cod liver oil has a lot of, I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, arachidonic acid.
I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
So it wasn't good. He's like, nah. He's like, you got to switch to straight up fish oil. And I was only taking like probably 2 to 3 grams of omega-3s or in that a day, plus like the eggs I eat and whatever else. So my omega-3s are really shot to the point where, again, this is after getting blood work. This is why I'm taking these quantities. So I'm taking like 9 grams of fish oil a day. So that's 9,000 milligrams. Plus,
Snap.
I need to eat fish twice a day. That's how off my omega-3s were. And so they're putting me on a little protocol. I'm going to document it, document all of it. Put in like my body fat, my muscle mass, what I'm doing for training to get my hormones right again. So right now they're having me on a higher fat, higher protein diet, lower carb. Not shocking, but that like so I'm going to do that for 2 weeks, fat load. Then I'm going to start a drug called Clomid. Clomid is usually, in the past, it's been used to get people off steroids. So like a post-cycle therapy. They're just trying to see if in like 6 weeks I go back and get my blood tested and see if like naturally my testosterone comes back or if I need to do further replacement therapy. But yeah, I knew this day would come, but I'm a couple days into just eating better and feeling better and taking all these omega-3s, and I definitely feel a little bit better. My sleep's been shitty. So all of that just cascades, Steve asked me before, like, what caused all this? And it was like, well, one leads to the other, man. Like low test, and then you work out and I get higher body fat, and then body fat's causes more inflammation. So it's just like boom, boom, boom. It's just, not a good combo.
Get your levels checked, kids.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Get blood work done. I know you're like, oh, I feel fine. You never know.
Yeah, it's always good to see where you're at. So, shall we send some news?
I already got yours from 4 years ago.
So our news
Saved.
segment that we call Send News, and we're going to update you guys on some new news in the strength and conditioning world, the strength world. Nick, why don't we start with you, man? What did you come across?
I came across a dope article, and this is something I've always been a little weird about.
Where did you find the article?
T-Nation, Dr. John Russin. If you don't follow him, I follow him on Instagram. Follow him on Instagram. He has a solid Instagram of it's like almost like an exercise library, I would say.
Word.
He's he's good. I like his stuff. Anyways, he's talking about the article is about lifting straps, belts, and Olympic lifting shoes. Tools, are they tools or are they crutches? Which one is which? So first I'll just go three by like all three. The moral of the article is,
like, what was the article about? We don't have to go too into it, just like, what was it about?
Just about lifting straps, belts, and the shoes, and when they're appropriate and when they're not. I personally, good examples like the lifting straps. Like, do you need them for everything? Do you need a belt for everything? Are you wearing a belt during your warm-up sets of squats?
Right.
No. Do you need Olympic shoes? I could think of a bunch of instances where maybe Olympic shoes didn't suit the person well, the way they're built, their femurs, all that shit. And I've heard of instances where people have had tremendous knee pain squatting, and they've switched to Oli shoes and it went away, and they were able to squat. And they were able to, that was the way they were built, or that was what's going on with their body. The moral of the story is that he said for beginners overall, just worry about basic stuff. Don't worry about that. As you get more advanced and things get heavier, yes, you need to make progressive, you need to make progress. So if you want to add in some stuff, go ahead.
Word.
But I'm
meaning like add in some like extra gear.
You want to add in some extra gear, some stuff. I used to get a fight with Fen and Mike because they used to deadlift with belts and straps. And I was like, wow, what's even the point? Like, but I guess they're at a point where it's like they're so strong, trying to overload.
True.
The one example I could use for lifting straps is, and I used to get yelled at this again by Mike and Paul all the time. It's like bodybuilders, right? So bodybuilders would do like lat pull downs or drop sets and things like that, and they're trying to work their lats, so they don't give a shit about their grip. Like, it's about the muscle, right? So if their grip is what's failing them first before their muscle, then
grip's got to go.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So
grip gets voted off the island.
Gotta have big lats or a dope grip. So, I really like the article. I think it's, give it a read. It's on T Nation. I think it's I think it's brand new. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth the read. I'm not a fan of much of any of that stuff. I just kind of like to do my thing. But
yeah, I've worn less and less of that stuff. Yeah. Even my Oli shoes, which I used to wear for like every bit of weightlifting and strength stuff, I'll do it less and less. Unless they're an actual Olympic lift, I'll always wear them for that. Well, actually, that's not true. Sometimes if we're going super light with snatches or cleans, I won't wear them. I'll just go flat shoes.
Plus, if you have it in a wad, you can't really use your Oli
exactly,
shoes.
Yeah.
Like, you're
so
fucked.
It's a little different, for CrossFit, yeah. But even overall, if it's lighter squat weight or deadlift weight or what have you, I'll probably just keep the shoes on. If it starts to get heavier, that's when I'll throw the shoes on. Same with like the knee wraps too. I don't really feel like I need knee wraps for like a $135, $185 squat, but for me personally, once I start getting into like the 225, 250, 275, 300 range, then I'll start throwing on the knee wraps, and then even wrist wraps too. If I'm not really pressing a heavy weight overhead, won't really put them on. But if we're going for like a max effort push press or something like that, those wraps are going on my wrist.
Great example he gave too is like of all the like top dudes that are even super strong, like they still do stuff without a belt just to keep that core resiliency and all that stuff. So want to mention that.
Dope. And my news that I'm going to send to you guys, my news that I'm sending to you, my DPs, if you will. I came across an article on Westside Barbell's website, actually. Louis Simmons wrote it.
Never heard of him.
It's actually from the beginning of August, so not super, super new, but, this came out this month.
From Westside Barbell, that's new.
Yeah.
That's very new.
Very new. And Louis wrote about the stretch reflex in a box squat. And he kind of wrote an article about, I think he was someone who was either kind of refuting his studies or kind of challenging his studies as far as box squatting, saying that after, I think it was like something like 2.25 seconds, you lose, like you're basically, your box squat is, it's trash,
you
right?
lose power.
So if you don't stand up from your box squat after about 2.25 seconds, why bother?
Your bar speed goes down.
Exactly.
Right.
And Louis actually argued, because he's done research with dudes who have the studies he conducted, dudes on the box for like 5 seconds, 8 seconds, and their bar speeds stayed the same, right? So the bar speed being how fast they stood up from the box. And what is being refuted is, hey man, the longer you sit on that box, the more likely your bar speed is going to go down. Meaning, you're not going to be able to get up as fast. But Louis' argument is, like, that kinetic energy that you're building up is going into the box. And regardless of how long you sit down there, you're still standing up off the box fast, right? Like the eccentric portion and the concentric portion are being separated when you sit on the box for that long. So that concentric portion is doesn't have so much to do with like mass, right? Like how strong you are to get the bar up. It's kinetic speed, right? Kinetic energy and speed. So great article, good on box squatting. If it's kind of a topic that gets debated as far as like, should you sit on the box? Should you get up right away? Should you put your feet up, slam down? Why you do this? Why you do that?
Some people just hate the box squat in general. They'll
Yeah.
be like, there's no transfer over to regular squatting. It doesn't make sense. And
but to his point is like, dude, that cutting the concentric from the eccentric and really working on that explosive speed, which is that's what's lifting weight, not mass.
It's
not
essentially like
it's how fucking fast you can move the bar.
Right.
That's gonna stand that weight up. So great way to practice it, and it's a really good article on the box squat. So we're gonna link our news in the notes. We'll make sure we send you our news, and if you guys have news you guys want to send to us, slide in our DMs. We'd love to see your news. This week's episode, we have David Ruhl. He's a former powerlifting champion. I believe a former Marine or Navy SEAL. Either one of those. We'll find out.
We'll meet him Sunday.
That was our episode this week. I hope you guys enjoy it. And here's David Ruhl.
All right, we are here with David Ruhl. What's up, my man? How are you?
I'm doing well, not much.
A little bit closer to that mic, just a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So we're here at Platoon Fitness in, I'm going to get this wrong, Bryn Mawr.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Pennsylvania.
Bryn Mawr, PA.
So, David, you have a pretty extensive resume, but we're going to start just from the beginning. How did you get started in fitness? What led you down this path?
My father was a gymnast at University of Iowa. So we had rings in our basement like as young as 3 years old. That was the main thing, that his main event was the rings. So I started just goofing around on the rings at 3 years old. And I remember all the time, like, we would sit together as a family later on when I had, like, younger brothers and stuff, and we would all do stretching and stuff in front of the TV. So I did gymnastics till I was about, like, 14 years old. And then I was a little too tall anymore and not that good at it, like as good to like keep going with it.
To go to the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. So I picked up, just goofing around with weights and stuff. I really didn't know what I was doing until later. I started dating a girl whose dad was a coach and a chiropractor, so he taught me a lot of stuff.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, that sounds like a great family to grow up in. You're stretching and doing gymnastics at the age of 3.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's a good start.
I mean, it took me a long way. Yeah, I always remember that stuff.
Yeah, starting with, I think people miss the gymnastics aspect, the body weight movement aspect, and we'll get into that later. So what was your first experience with actual weights? Now, when you did gymnastics, did you compete, or you were just kind of...
No, I didn't compete. We went to, there was like a gymnastics school, and we would just like go through the progressions and stuff as though, just with anyone else, but I never went to compete because, as I said, I wasn't that great at it,
Right.
Yeah.
So as far as lifting, like you said, you got in there and started goofing around with weights. What were you doing? Just like curls and stuff, or what?
I ran to the YMCA, which was like 4 miles away, and I would just use every single machine. I didn't know anything, so I'd just use every machine, and I figured if I did that and I did as much weight as I could, then eventually I'd get big and strong, I never got big.
Classic.
You got strong, though.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. So you went from kind of goofing around, just doing machines and stuff like that. What led you to get down that road to be a power lifter?
Like I said, I was dating a girl, and her father, who's still like my best friend to this day, I saw him this morning.
Cool.
He started taking me under his wing, and he would go to the gym with me and like show me how to do different things, and then we would like hang out afterward. And he's a doctor of chiropractic, so he would start teaching me about like different things to look for in forms and joint alignment, and we would talk about that every day from like an early age. So I always remember that, that stuff even today when I'm doing my training and stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. So how long from when you started training, like say doing powerlifting style training, to when you actually started to compete, would you say?
I started competing immediately, just because I was going into the military. I was like 16 years old when I started competing.
Okay.
I enlisted in the military when I was 17, so I wanted to just like do as much as I could before that. And then I had like 3 years where I might have done one competition because I was in the military.
Gotcha.
And then once I got back out, I was competing maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Not bad. So what are your best numbers, man? Shoot.
I
give it
did
to us.
515 deadlift, 475 squat, and 315 bench. And that was roughly, I was at the 165 weight class. I probably walked around like 175.
That's pretty.
Damn.
That's pretty legit. Pretty legit numbers.
Yeah, I never used a belt, never took steroids, no wraps, no nothing. Yeah,
Never used a belt or wraps in competition.
correct.
Wow.
So how'd you get so strong?
I don't know. I mean, so in my family, like I said, my dad did the gymnastics. I have a cousin who was an Olympic level diver. People say I ended up getting good genetics from it. But yeah, I mean, I would lift. It was all I had to do. So I lifted like, twice a day for an hour and a half or something. And it's hard not to get strong if you do that,
True.
Wow. What was the actual training for powerlifting like? Like, take us through. You just said twice a day for an hour and a half. So what was it like? How did you break up the lifts and all that? What was your split?
It wasn't so regimented back because this is like going on, the better part of 15 years ago. And I was learning from a guy who learned when he, 15 years prior to that. So it was still like the old school methodology of you're going to work out 6 days a week. You do bench, deadlift, squat, and then repeat. Don't stretch because your muscles need to be tight to rebound you up and stuff like that. So there was really nothing that fancy. It would just be low repetitions on the one day and then higher repetitions like 20 to 30 of the same lifts on the second day of the week.
Okay, so it would be like I say, just example, I'm trying to get it right in my head. So like a bench or a squat, you do a heavy day, and then a couple days later, a day later, it's just light for reps.
Correct.
And then what about like accessory stuff like that, or was it just straight up?
The accessory stuff, I never stopped doing like the body weight stuff that I liked, but I just added weight to it. So I would do like weighted dips or weighted push-ups or weighted pull-ups or anything like that. And then I did things like good mornings and pullovers and lunges and that type of stuff, but the vast majority of it was just time spent doing the lift.
Got you. And eventually, so you spoke about the military.
Yeah.
So what led you to sign up, and what branch were you in of the military?
I signed up because I had not that great a family life, and I wasn't really that smart for college, or I didn't think so, at least at the time. So that was something to just get me away and keep me moving through my life. I joined the Marine Corps.
Okay.
It was a cool experience. It was in about, a little under 3 years. I injured my knee towards the end. Not a cool story behind that or anything. It was actually just during a squat. But I ended up getting out then. I would say that I'm really glad I did it. If I could have done it when I was older, now looking back, I probably could have gotten a lot more out of it had I joined, 5 years later or something. But I appreciate everything it did for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then right after the military, what was your plan after when you got out?
I didn't really have that much of a plan. Like I said, I didn't leave from anything, so I didn't really have that much to go back to. So I just came back home and I started working at a grocery store, and I still was lifting weights and everything like that, and competing. But eventually I got a job at the YMCA volunteering so that I could not have to pay for the membership or anything like that.
Smart.
And then from there, they're like, well, if you want to work here, you have to get this certification. And I was kind of like, I had never done anything or thought about it before then, but because I was forced into it, then I kind of learned a little bit more about it and went from there.
So you basically became kind of turned into a trainer. It was almost forced into you.
Yeah, exactly. All I did there was clean the machines, but they said like if you work there, you have to have these couple of things. So yeah.
Got you. And then as far as powerlifting, you said you competed for 15 years, correct?
Yeah, so my first one was probably a little less than 15 years. My first one when I was 16 years old, and my last one when I was 28 years old, so about 12, 13 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what level did you reach? You said a high level.
Yeah, I started off in USAPL,
Gotcha.
but very soon I found out that not everyone didn't want to everyone was wearing a belt. Most people were wearing equipment. Some of the people, I'm guessing, were on steroids because they later got caught for steroids anyhow, you know what I mean? But so after I did that for a little while, I moved to 100% raw, which I'm not sure if it's a league anymore. It's more on the southeast.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where I did a lot of my stuff, and that was where, you know, you could have an option to not wear a belt or anything like that. But yeah, I ended up going to national championships a couple times, and then one time actually winning it.
That's
Oh,
pretty
so
awesome.
you won a
2008.
national championship.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did that?
24, 23, 24.
Okay. So that was almost 10 years into your stint as a powerlifter.
Yeah, exactly. I had the break. Like, I didn't really lift much or anything while I was in the military. There just wasn't much time for it. But yeah, as soon as I got out, I started doing it again. So 10 years broken up.
Oh, okay, cool. What was that like winning that?
To be honest, I don't really remember it. I kind of like zone out, you know what I mean? So I kind of switch on like a different, I'd have to switch on a different personality because it was like, you had to approach it a different way than you would approach your everyday life, just like you would have to approach anything. And so, yeah, I would just kind of switch to a different person and do what I had to do and then switch it off. So a lot of people didn't like to be around me when I was cutting weight. I was really a pretty big asshole. And that's why I stopped competing, actually, because my ex-wife, who was my wife at the time, said, listen, you're just an asshole and you have to stop. Yeah.
So you just zone out. You just like wake up on the platform like, oh shit, I'm a national champion. Where are we?
So yeah, it would be like for all my competitions, like I'm aware that I did them, but like I don't have a memory of like walking up and doing the lift or anything like that. Yeah, it was really, you know, that's from like I have dissociative identity disorder, so it's one of those like Herschel Walker had it. So sometimes you just like you'll just zone out and you do what you need to do and then you come back in.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So you kind of have like an alter ego when it came to powerlifting?
I don't want to say like an alter ego because it's not even like I know it was happening. I only knew it was evident by the breakup of memory.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it happened in different other spots like military or when I was a kid and stuff. But yeah, you're just able to like shift to someone who is able to do it and then relax after you're done.
So do you think that kind of gave you an advantage and
totally
that helped you during powerlifting?
Yeah, I think so because like
that's crazy.
I never really I trained hard, but I never really experienced I didn't feel like I was training hard. It was really easy to do. I think if I didn't have something to switch to, it might not have been as easy to do. But that was something where that was the only thing that I had to do. So it was really easy to just kind of stay fisheye there.
So where does your mind go? Like you said, you're training, you're competing.
Oh
but then
yeah,
you don't remember.
I completely blank out. If I lift I still lift every day and work out every day, and it's a very meditative time for me. I think about what I'm going to do beforehand, but once I know what I have to do and I've kind of like looked at it in my head, I don't even think about it. It's like I just go through the motions and get the benefits from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you usually go in with a set plan for your own training now that you're done with powerlifting, or are you kind of just like, I'm just going to go and see what happens?
The main thing that I like to do now, because like I did the powerlifting, and I'm more interested in learning, so like learning different ways to help like my clients and patients, and I'm a physical learner, so I have to do the stuff to actually get it.
Same.
But aside from that, I just basically I want to not hurt. And I want to stay looking good, like good posture, everything's where it's supposed to be, and I'm not worried about being super strong anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still have those lifts in your program though? Do you still deadlift once in a while? Still
I
squat,
do,
bench?
yeah. So I still keep bench press. No, I never liked it. I only did it because it was necessary. But squat and deadlift, yeah. And I do like overhead press.
Okay.
And those are really the only lifts that I do anymore, and I'll do them like once a week. And then where I would have done lifting is now time spent like experimenting and practicing with movements that I'm not familiar with or different drills and stuff like that.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. What else? So you know you're a licensed. We know you're a licensed manual therapist.
Yeah.
What led you? And it seems that trainers are going more and more down that path because you get people that are so messed up.
Oh,
for
totally.
lack of a
Yeah.
better word. That you could always refer out, but if you could do it yourself and have the ability to train, so there's kind of that gap of some therapists don't know the training side, and it's kind of like this battle a little bit. So what led you? You were like, I need to get this done.
I can't take credit for it. I just I was hooked up with a smart guy, and he said we should do this, and then I ended up doing it, and he didn't. But I had never had an interest in massage therapy prior to going to school. It was just suggested, and then once I did it, I found out I really liked it. I was really good at it, and yeah, the financial side is good too. Like, you took 2 part-time jobs, put them together. Now I have more than a full-time job in one spot. I don't have to travel or do anything like that. It's really great.
That's awesome.
What's the butterfly tattoo? What is that?
So I got this like 4 months ago, and so after I got out of the military, as I said, I struggled socially and with like anger issues and stuff. I got this once I kind of came to terms and dealt with everything I had to deal with, and so there's some detail that I can't go exactly into. I think this is going on my company website, but basically what it symbolizes is like a social butterfly, that I'm able to talk. I know people are going to ask me about it, and I encourage people to talk to me.
Oh, cool.
So it's like a way to get you out of your comfort zone.
Right on, and keep me there. Yeah, like make it my comfort zone.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a big step to do that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was serious.
For those of you who aren't watching and just listening, David has a big old pretty looking butterfly tattoo right on his neck.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get a little more into, your hands-on stuff and what you do with the people you work with and with yourself as well.
All right, right on.
All right, take a quick break. Be right back. Want more of the Strength Students podcast? Go check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, make sure you leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and on Stitcher. Stitcher, I just met her.
And we're back with David Ruhl. What's up, my man?
Not much.
So now we're going to get into what you do with your actual clients. So you went from, doing gymnastics as a kid, then you were national champion powerlifter, and now you're training pretty much, I would assume, because we do the same thing, every day. You're an everyday person. Maybe they sit at a desk for a while.
Yeah, for the most part.
Do you have athletes at all?
I do have athletes. I don't train too many athletes, but I do have athletes that come in on a semi-regular basis for body work and stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Powerlifters or any athletes?
No, like mainly in this area, it's like tennis players, lacrosse, swimming, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. So yeah, you're working with general population, right? So you're not training yourself, you're not lifting with other powerlifters. So take us through, one of the things I always nerd out on and get into is, how do you, when you first have someone, do you have a screening process that you go through? And, there's all these acronyms that our audience might know, but some regular people might not, is all the FMS, FRC, PRI, DNS we talked about, right? So what do you personally do? What do you feel is the most valuable when you first get someone in and they're like, hey, I sit at a desk 8 hours a day. I haven't worked out in 5-10 years, which is usually how it goes. Where do you start with this person?
Especially if someone is sitting at a desk all day, you can reasonably assume a couple things, but the main one is that they'll be really comfortable in movements where their body is small and very anterior,
right.
dominant, and the further that you move anything away from that spot, the more difficult it becomes for them to maintain any function. So the most important thing to maintain, at least in the beginning, or that I want to see people can do, is breathe and keep their midsection tight. So if you put them on their back and you have them lay like a happy baby, pretty much anyone can do that and breathe. It's impossible not to. And then you ask them to do different things from there to find out at what range of motion their hip or knee or shoulder or anything becomes compromised. And then you can, I do one of two things depending on if they're body work client or a training client. I would teach them how to foam roll, or I'd take them on the table and do stuff on there. But basically, I start with small movements where the body's real small, and that same position can be turned in 360 degrees. So like a squat, a quadruped, a tripod on your head, and like a yuki, which is like a ring row in gymnastics with your knees tucked. So it's like 360 degrees of being able to keep your midsection on, and then branch out from there depending on what the people want to do.
And why 360 degrees?
Because we move in 360 degrees.
Word.
Yeah, you can't just be strong. If you're only strong in one way, you're not strong. You're weak. Because if you leave it, you're done.
So relating it to, let's say, powerlifting, because that's kind of your background.
It's all sagittal plane.
Powerlifter kind of says, well, hey, I don't move in 360 degrees. I'm just in one plane. What would you say to something like that?
The only reason that they're in one plane is because they've developed strong enough muscles to resist the tendency to leave that plane. There's always, you're not symmetrical, so there'll always be some subtle rotational force or lateral force or anything like that that's going on. Just because you're not moving, you're resisting it, and it takes the same muscles to resist it as it does to move it.
Word. That's deep.
What would you say?
I hope so.
Would you say that everyone, no matter who you are, even powerlifters that obviously live in the sagittal plane, but would you say everyone can benefit from moving in the different planes of motion, even if it's like a powerlifter does a lateral lunge once or twice a week?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if not only just to stimulate different muscle growth and different neural patterns just for general athleticism, like if you can do something and your friend can't, then you're probably more athletic than them if everything else is the same. But yeah, like the main thing that power lifters need to remember, especially as they get bigger, is that as you have weight on you, sometimes that weight can put you into positions that you wouldn't otherwise have business being in. Everyone knows the big power lifter who can squat 800 pounds but can't squat himself. Can't sit down because he's so tight. Or the person who can bench press 800 pounds but can't lift their arm over their head because it hurts. So yeah, eventually, if you're not working on mobility, even as a power lifter who has some pretty specific movements and don't branch out to it, if you might not get better or you might get hurt. Something will happen eventually. You won't just be able to do that forever.
Say you are one of those people who you could get under a bar. Like, that's kind of like me. I could get under a bar, and when I'm moving like 75, 80, 95%, I'm in a pretty good position. But if I'm doing a bodyweight air squat, it looks like shit. Like, what's going on there with your body and physiologically?
Sometimes it's because you need a tactile cue without anything. You're strong. You're strong whether you have a barbell on you or not. But you might not know how to use your strength or to gauge it. So if you can squat 400 pounds comfortably, but you can't squat your body comfortably, likely that weight is forcing you past some place that you could have pulled yourself anyway. Not necessarily because you're inflexible, but because without the tactile sensation of, okay, I have something, now I can exert force against it, you have trouble figuring out where to get to, and most powerlifters will overflex at the hip way early and underuse their knees due to all the hip stuff that they do. So yeah.
Word.
It's more just about, it's a cool thing. Like, if you take someone who's never lifted weights before, you'll see them as you get them stronger and stuff like that. That's my gauge for how they move better. If I have a weightlifter, I would want them to look better with less and less and less, and eventually nothing, being able to do a single leg squat or sit all the way down on your heels or something like that. That's how you can tell that those guys are getting better.
Word.
How do you find the balance with this is one thing I find with general population too. As I train, we train similar demographics. There's the movement side. There's things wrong that we need to fix, or things that I don't want to say wrong, and I usually don't say that to them. I just kind of say, all right, well, we stay within their wheelhouse. If they have a good squat, they could squat to a box. Cool. Where do you find the balance between getting them in and keeping them safe and functional, but also giving them a good workout? Because there's people that I've had some clients in the past that have complained and say, hey, this is kind of like, a little bit like too much like PT. Like, I know you're trying to keep me safe, but like they want to sweat. They want to feel like they did something. They did something during their workout. How do you find that balance personally with your clients?
I had to kind of rearrange the way that they think about what a successful workout is. So most of my clients aren't powerlifters. So if I was only to evaluate them by how strong are they getting at their lifts, it's not meaningful for me and it's not meaningful for them. So I try to explain to them, like, the mark of a good workout isn't that you can sweat. Like, you want to be able to do more than you could before, whether that's with numbers, whether that's with, I could lift my arm to here, now I can lift it to here. But anytime you do something better than you did before, that's a successful workout. It doesn't need to involve sweat. It doesn't need to involve weights. It just needs to involve progress in some way. And usually the more meaningful progress for people is to not hurt. Yeah, if they don't hurt any place, then I have them lift, if they want to lift weights, then they can lift weights and stuff like that. But it's never like, all right, we're doing a program to see how much you can squat. We'll just use the weight like I use it, just as something to develop just basic general strength and stuff like that. And then the majority of the rest of it is stuff to make that strength movement more, like, you get more out of it. The better you move, the more you'll get out of it. Yeah.
Well, and we were talking a little off camera about how you kind of play it by ear with your clients. Like, so do you not necessarily say, all right, we're starting with this, we're going to do this, and then we're going to go into that? You kind of watch how they move as they're training.
Yeah, exactly, because, you could train the same guy and see him 50 times, and it's like seeing 50 different people move. If he was drunk, if he didn't get enough sleep, if he had a rough day at work or something like that. So everyone's, even if it's the same person, they come in doing different things. So before they are doing anything with weights, I've had them move from every joint so you can see roughly what you're going to expect out of them from that day. And if it's less than before, then I try to do the body work and mobility stuff until they're at least moving as good as they did last time I saw them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. My brain,
Well,
I'm
what
like
would you
taking
say
all of it in.
What would you say your
trying to-
overall philosophy with how you approach this is?
So, like, I do this because God gave me a gift and I'm good at it, and I try to give it to other people. And so that's the way, like, that's how I do my good works and how I look at myself at the end of the day and all that good stuff. But it's I do it because if more people are feeling good, then more people are feeling good.
Gotcha. And why do you think proper movement plays such a good part in not only strength but just day to day?
If you hurt, you're grumpy. If you can't do things you want to do, you're grumpy. And when you're grumpy, you're not just grumpy for you. You go out in the world. So, like, healthy overall people makes for just more pleasant interaction in your daily life,
So even just in movement, you think a foundation of really good movement, it will kind of set you up for having good overall health in other areas?
Yeah, like, you can look at people who are depressed or unhappy, and they have a posture that comes along with that. And usually you'll see, as people get to feel better about themselves or develop confidence, the posture changes, but the workout only gives them the option to change the posture. It's themselves that are choosing to carry themselves different. So yeah, it carries over into a lot of different ways. It's the triangle, right? Physical, mental, and spiritual, as they say.
Absolutely.
Mind, body, spirit. Springfield College.
Shameless plug.
That's our thing. That was our thing.
So there's been so much talk, especially in the last few years, about posture has been emphasized a lot, mobility has been emphasized a lot, and diaphragm, breathing. Like, these have been, I guess you could call them buzzwords, I guess, in the past decade or so, I guess, in the strength and conditioning world.
PRIs come on big, stuff like that. So,
and why? And as far as from your vantage point, why are these things so crucial when it comes to movement, like you were talking about, and just strength?
People want to do different things now. In the 80s, when all there was to do was push on a machine, no one hurt themselves, and everyone could do it. But as things have become more popular, and you see people doing things like snatches and clean and jerks and CrossFit and different things like that, now there's things that people want to do that they just never wanted to do before. And with that comes the finding out that you can't do it. And then with that comes the asking of the question, well, how can I do that? And you're never going to learn how to do some of that stuff without proper breathing, proper posture, all that stuff.
Word. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
And now, as far as you, like your training, I mean, we looking at a powerlifting comeback anytime soon, or
I don't think so. I haven't even thought about it for a long time. I coach people every now and then. I'll take them to competition and stuff like that. We had a young girl that worked here. She doesn't work here anymore, but I coached her through a few competitions. But I'm much happier just giving it away to other people now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And have you ever gotten into like weightlifting or anything else, or have you always just done powerlifting?
I used weightlifting when I was younger as like I liked it, and it was like after I was done competing, but while I was still looking for something like fun to do, like I tried CrossFit for a little while, and I experimented with weightlifting, and it's hard to go. You could go from a weightlifter to a powerlifter probably, but it's hard to go powerlifter to weightlifter because you miss so much of the speed training of it,
Yeah.
But I like those lifts. I can do them. Do I have people do them? No, because it's way hard to teach.
Hard.
Yeah,
It's hard. With the population too, it's just tough.
Yeah, exactly. And they're only important because the Olympics said they're important. Outside of that, they're really not. they're not that important. It's just a movement. You know what I mean?
Got you.
So what do you think as far as the strength and conditioning world as a whole right now? I mean, it's a time where I think like functional fitness and getting away from using like just machines and stuff. Obviously, that's been the trend the past decade or two. So we have all these different things now: powerlifting, CrossFit. We have weightlifting. Even if you want to just kind of slap a brand on functional fitness and call it functional fitness.
Yeah.
Do you think these are all separate places, or do they all have a place together?
They all have a place together because we all have our different ways we like to express our physicality. So in that way, they'll always have a place, just like jazzercise has a place for some people. But whether or not they have a place in creating healthy bodies or not is a different story. Yeah, and powerlifters are always going to powerlift. I mean, and it has to be the basis of their training.
Sure.
Just like any athlete, their sport is the basis of their training. But powerlifters are the only ones who actually lift weights for their sport. So everyone else, you're already strong enough. You know what I mean? Like you're probably plenty strong enough, and you just need to figure out how to use it.
Word. So as far as you and your work and what you do, if there was kind of one blanket statement that you could get out into the world as far as what you believe in, what you're trying to do, what would that be?
Like if one thing that I would just, if I could say this will change your life.
Yeah, if you could just go put a banner on like a satellite and roll it around the world.
Roll out your belly.
Roll out your belly. Okay,
I've just started doing that with the purple ball, like the yellow ball, and breathing on it.
It's your waist, your hips are the centermost part of your body. So when we all sit, some people more than others, but everyone sits more than they do anything else. So the centermost point of tightness will be at the shortest point of your body, which would be at your hips or your low belly, your TVA. So as that gains movement and length, so doesn't the rest of your body be able to reset to like a neutral position. Yeah.
Got you. So roll out the belly.
Roll out the belly. Don't stretch your back and roll out your belly.
Okay, cool. Okay. That's actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I think Stu McGill is actually big on that too. I've read a couple things on him. His whole thing is like, stop doing all the like twisting and shearing of your back and trying to
too
stretch
strong?
it out.
Whose back's too strong? Everyone that's back hurts sits.
Yeah,
they don't even exercise. You don't need to be any stretchier. You just need to stand up straight.
Well, yeah, and that was his point too. Is like you need to fix your posture and your strength in your, like you were saying, in that core area.
Yeah,
rather than
absolutely.
like shearing your body and trying to twist your back and stretch it and pop it and all that.
Yeah, it's long enough.
Word.
That's a good point. Dude,
Anything else, Tim?
I think that's it.
Yeah,
man.
man.
If you
Covered
want
a lot of
to plug all your stuff, plug where you work, plug your Instagram, where people can find you.
So you can't find me any place because I don't know how to use a computer. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Instagram, anything. But I work at Platoon Fitness. It's a great spot in Bryn Mawr, PA. A bunch of good trainers. We do massage. We're soon to have a physical therapy outfit. So stop by and, it'll be awesome.
Sweet.
One last question. What do you think about Paul Fenaroli, one of your trainers here?
Yeah, if he worked out a little bit, He just needs to get a little bigger, I think.
I think he would agree with you.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
As he would say, we trying to get big over here.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
David.
what I need him over 400 pounds.
He's close.
I don't know if he wants to get to that level again. Oh, you do? Okay.
He shakes his
All right,
head,
well.
yes. Okay. Well,
All right, David. Well, that's going to wrap it up, man. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, right
Appreciate
on.
it. We had a
Thank
good
you.
time.
this is awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Yep.
Later.